The word guru is used in many different contexts in India. Nowadays, anybody who teaches you anything is a Guruji. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which, as you know, is the most important text of the yoga philosophy, which is the Bible of the yogis, says, and that God is the Guru of even the most ancient ones, of the earliest ones. So it's very confusing. You hear about all kinds of gurus nowadays. You know my definition of a guru in America. Anybody who can touch his nose to his toes. Advertises himself as a great guru, great teacher. Is there some kind of a certification to make you a guru? Maybe you can have a university degree, or you can have some kind of a test, or you're a member of the dues paying member of the Gurus Association or something. What makes you a guru? You know? When the Beatles became disappointed with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, they said, well, in India a person becomes guru by the same process by which you become a popular rock band in the West. You develop a following. So, what is a guru, and what is the test of being a guru? And what is all this guru business anyway? And it's very difficult to start somewhere, to find somewhere to start the discussion on this subject. As I said, the word is used in so many different contexts. Sometimes it's just an expression of respect. We are told in the tradition, in the culture in which I was born, that your mother is the first guru, your father is the second guru, your teacher is the third guru, and your spiritual master is the fourth guru. Then there is a book called The Laws of Manu, the major ancient book of laws for the Indians, for India, which says that 10 paid teachers, one guru equals 10 paid teachers. 100 gurus equals one father, and 100 fathers equals one mother. So anywhere you derive wisdom from is guru. Sanskrit word for a school was Gurukula, the guru's family. And a child's education took place in Gurukula, in the guru's family. A child was sent between the age of 5 and 8 to live with the guru's family, away from civilization, in the forest, in the hermitages. There were special areas preserved. And those areas were so sacred, an ashram, those were places known as ashrams, those places were so sacred that a king could not enter there but in a humble garb. He must not carry the signs and symbols of royalty with him when he enters an ashram. A policeman must remove his badge getting there. No secular authority was allowed. No animal could kill another animal in those areas. No hunters, no trespassers. You could go there only with a very, very spiritual outlook. There was no taxation. Some of these ashrams were really great, became very great universities. Uh, 4th century BC, for example, the University of Taxila or Takshashila, with 20,000 resident students, all free, paid for by the state, yet the state had no say in deciding policy. Knowledge is above all. If there is one motto of the civilization in which I have grown up, for example, that is knowledge above all. Vidyaya amritam ashnute. One gains immortality from wisdom, from knowledge. So political power, monetary power are nothing. They are there. They are not to be avoided. They must be there. But the highest caste in India is the Brahmins, who are the poorest people in the country, are the highest caste. And they are regarded as highest caste because of their knowledge, because of the traditions they carry. So in that context you have to understand the importance given to someone who is a teacher. See, these people, the Brahmins of India, they live on offerings. Their knowledge is free, but then they live in a society or lived in a society. Now it's only a small nucleus. You don't have, what I'm talking about is maybe only little of it remains today. Very little. You won't see it when you land in India. You will have to look for those pockets. See, but whatever is there is a continuity from a very, very ancient tradition. See. So they give of themselves free. A student was not charged a fee. And you would say, that's very nice, that's very convenient. But then, what was it that he did? What was it that the student did? See, he gave his heart and soul. See, then he deserved that knowledge, that wisdom, that a guru could place any test on that student. See, it was not a monetary arrangement, does not mean it was not an arrangement. It was a spiritual arrangement. See, because knowledge itself cannot be valued in terms of finances. It cannot be valued, it cannot have a price tag. It sounds a contradiction to the practice you find right here in this building, perhaps. But providing of necessities is one thing that's completely separate. There's no connection between that and the wisdom that one receives. The two are not connected, cannot be connected. It is not possible for you to waste so much knowledge for so much money. See. So a child went to the ashram of a guru, lived under him as his own child, and the princes and the paupers both together lived an ascetic life up to the age of 24 or so. The period of study was period of ascetic life. It was a period of total equality. Then the prince went and ruled over the country, and the Brahmin went and taught the people, and the trader's son went back into the business. But the values that were inculcated in that period of life remained. See. Now, you can then view the guru on two different levels. One is, again, now, giving information we are not counting, we are not talking about it. We are not talking about study of economics or study of physics. Although the same people in ancient India, the same very people who developed the yoga science, also developed all the other sciences. The texts they wrote on political science also started with the discussion of metaphysics. Why should the society have political stability? Why should people have economic security? And the answer given in this tradition is so that they have the facility to meditate. So that they can go towards self-realization. So that one person does not go out of his way to interfere with somebody else's karma. So a trader, a businessman should earn so that he supports the student, so that he supports the seeker, so that he gives to the ashram, so that he builds a well in the village. And he who earns only for himself earns only sin. So it's a question of the whole value of the society. Why? Why should you run a country? Why should you run a government? And the answer is that all these things, all these material facilities are provided in the society only for one purpose. And that purpose is that those who are seekers may seek without interference. And so that you may fulfill your karma, your present duty at a certain point, you should do it to the fullest of your ability and use it for the benefit of others in such a way that a person who is teaching in an ashram, a person who is studying in an ashram, which was vast institutions away in the forest, that they continue with their life. That you should have the facility in your society that people can follow the inner seeking. And if you claim anything beyond that to be yours, then you are a thief. See? Yes.
You say those who are seekers, could they be both?
Yes, of course, you are a seeker all the time at some level. A king must retire at the age of 50 also and become a hermit and leave the kingdom to his son. So actually one's working life for material things was about 25 years. First 25 years he remained an ascetic and studied under a guru. From the age of 25 to 50, ideally, he ran his political life, he ran his kingdom, he cultivated his fields, he went out to trade, got married, produced children, saw them grow up. And at the age of 50, he went away again and claimed nothing from whatever he had earned, claimed nothing from whatever he had created, and went out and built a little hut in the forest all over. Whether he was a king or he was a Brahmin or a philosopher or a trader or a businessman.
What about the women?
There are mixed statements. There are some very great women figures, great women masters and sages in the history of India. On the other hand, the people who went away at the age of 50, the law book says that either the man and the woman may go together, or they may go separately, or the woman, physically being weaker, may stay under the care of her son. But it was and still is in India, even now it is the duty of the eldest son to take care of the parents. And take care means they live in the same house. I was told Swamiji was passing one day some big high-rise apartment, and the person who was driving him, Swamiji asked him, what is this place? Is strange feelings of grief and sorrow in this building. And the person said, it's an old people's home. When your ideal in life is not pleasure for yourself, but paying off your spiritual debt, developing your karma, then you take inconveniences for others. Now, it's a philosophy of life I used to teach a lot when I first started teaching in America. I have shut up since then. Very seldom this kind of thing comes out of me. I don't speak about it because you can't change a society. All you do is develop a resentment and resistance. No. So I'll leave that part out. You cannot transplant wholesale the values of another culture into a culture, But you can do some things as individuals. While I'm talking all these good things about the culture that developed in India, quite probably I'm not talking about all the evils that developed at the same time. So that should be borne in mind. But coming back to the Guru. So what was a Guru? Guru was a guide for a whole life. See. Even now, you cannot say that everybody who claims to be a Guru is a supremely realized person. But he has some guidance to give. So while the ideal of a Guru is a great yogi who is fully self-realized and can guide people all the way, since there is such a shortage of such people in the world, there are so few of them, we have a problem. Everybody wants to be the disciple of the greatest realized person. But the unfortunate thing is that the greatest realized person too, when operating, working in the world, has some limitations placed on his time. See? So he cannot, let us say if there are 15 fully realized people in the world and there are, let us say, 3 billion people, how can he guide everybody personally? And when Swami comes to town, one of the 700 initiates of the temple wants a half an hour appointment with him. It just doesn't work that way. It just can't work. So you have guides whom their followers, their students also honor as Guru. But in matter of fact, they are just Guru replacements, Guru substitutes. See, if you have walked a mile, you can guide somebody who has walked only half a mile. But this person who has walked a mile is in need of guidance to walk 5 miles further. Now what happens in many cases is that since there are a large number of people, hundreds of thousands of people who have walked only half a mile, so a person who can guide you 1 mile gathers a following of 100,000 people. Says he's a great Guru, he has hundreds of thousands of followers. But quite often the greatest yogi has very, very few people with him. Because he lets the job of those people who have walked only half a mile, guiding them, he leaves in the hands of others, who will bring them to a mile, who will bring them to 5 miles, who will bring them to 7 miles. Am I making myself clear? See. Now, lot of these people nowadays walking around in the world, claiming themselves to be gurus, have developed this great feeling. I have hundreds of thousands of followers. I have beautiful magazines published in America. I can rent the biggest hall in the United States, and jet my people over there, so I'm great and big. But we don't measure a guru in those terms. The tradition looks askance upon them. See.
Just previous to what you said of that, did you mean that only a guru who reaches self-realization can lead others to self-realization? And if your guru or your teacher is not self-realized, then you will never attain self-realization?
Right. He can go, if I have walked a mile, I can take you only a mile, or maybe even short of a mile. If I know to walk 5 miles, I can take you 4.5 miles. But I cannot promise you self-realization. If, however, I am myself under a self-realized guru, then my job ends when I have brought you to the point of my capacity. My job ends when you have walked those 4.5 or 5 miles, and then the guru notices you, see, and picks you up from there. And sometimes even may make you greater than me if my progress isn't fast enough. That too happens. Now let me explain to you the process of yoga initiations as much as I am permitted to explain, because there are many things which to me may be very clear, to others they may seem like hallucinations. That too is possible. Just as I may dismiss other people's views as hallucinations, it's very natural for somebody to dismiss my views as hallucinations. So our tradition says, give as much as people can take, and then slowly let them develop and see for themselves what, there is a word in the yoga vocabulary, mental son, or mental child, or mental progeny. Just as a particle, an essence and particle of father and mother dropped somewhere becomes a physical offspring, so the theory goes in yoga, a drop, a fraction, a particle of the guru's mind dropped somewhere becomes the disciple. All right, call it science fiction. If somehow you could take a part of your invisible mind, not your brain, invisible mind, all the essence of your mind power, and put it in the head of a cow, what would that cow become? The cow would become your disciple and will be elevated to your level of being. Okay, let's take a different analogy. You have a field of energy. Its intensity is low, but there is some way, some controls, some knobs with which the volume can be raised and it can be intensified, so that your life force and your consciousness force becomes more intensified. See? The field of a dying sick man is a very low volume, low intensity. His whole consciousness, his activity, his movement, his words, everything is feeble. If it were possible for you to put a little bit of your healthy mind, a little bit of your field, intensity of your field into him, he would perk up. That's the secret of spiritual healing. So, the higher initiations in yoga are that the guru is one in whom this field is very intense. In that person, that focus of the great God, great self, great energy, great Shakti, great supreme transcendental energies, very powerful. I have seen my master take off his shawl and throw on somebody, just throw it on him and put him in higher state of consciousness, just like that. You know the story of Christ and the robe, and who is touching my robe, I see my power passing. That's not a myth. It happens in the yoga tradition today. No one is allowed to touch this shawl or use it, not even in my home or family. Now, so in a guru, that is a person who has become a man of high spirit, this force, the transcendental force of life, consciousness, awareness is heightened. He sees things you don't see, he hears things you don't hear, he feels things you don't feel. He can extend that field to others, like a magnet. What is a guru? A magnet. What is a disciple? A few needles. So long as a lump of iron lies there, it's a lump of iron. The moment you bring the magnet close to it, it's magnetized. Now this lump of iron now becomes a magnet. And you bring another lump of iron near it, now this magnetizes that. And then that magnetizes that, and that magnetizes that. And this is the chain that we pay homage to when we say homage to the long tradition of gurus. I used to teach yoga, meditation before I met my master. I just wasn't effective. I knew all the theory, I knew all the texts. See, I could recite all the Sanskrit passages. I gave the same philosophy I gave then. The philosophy hasn't changed. But somehow it just wasn't that. I could not bring people to the path. And whatever therefore I do, I say, it's not I, the chain of magnets does. See, there is something of his mind that has been passed into my mind. This is something for an average person very difficult to believe.
Didn't you have him there as to the corresponding?
No. I had my father who trained me in childhood. See. So I did have the tradition of a different kind, but I was looking for a master. All my life I was looking. I'll tell you that story another time. Sometimes when you will practice your mantram, you will come to a point, someday, somewhere you will feel that mantram is running in your head all by itself. Then you will realize even a small little bit of what it means for the Guru to transplant his mind into your mind. What is it that repeats the mantram helplessly in you? See. Whenever you come to that experience, you will have a tiny little understanding, very tiny little understanding of this contact. See. Now this one is not a person. I do not give initiation or mantra to anyone.